welcome to the Album Man, and today we're going to be talking about The Answer's new album, New Horizon. Now, The Answer, if you don't know, they are a pretty damn underrated Irish 70s style hard rock band with a great sound and a killer vocalist whose name is Cormac Neeson. And I've liked them for quite a while, ever since the album Everyday Demons, which is definitely their strongest to date. They've released, this is their 4th studio album. Yeah, Everyday Demons, definitely their crowning achievement, and unfortunately they are pretty unknown in the States, even though they did support AC/DC, I believe, on the Black Ice tour in the States. And apparently I've heard rumours that the band are struggling a bit. I've heard that this album and this tour really is their make or break, and if the album doesn't sell well enough, and if the tour doesn't sell enough tickets, then they'll have to, throw in the towel, which would be an awful shame. So is this album the one to put them back on the map? Well, from the outside it certainly looks so, with some wonderful Storm Ferguson artwork. Yes, one of his last, if not his last, album covers, and certainly a fantastic way to end his illustrious career. And also we had, of course, earlier the killer, extremely catchy single Spectacular. But what about the rest of the album? Well, New Horizon, it opens with the aptly titled, New Horizon, shockingly, with the fuzzy guitar of Paul Mahon, I think Mahon, which gently fades in before we get into the main, also quite fuzzy riff. This band uses quite a bit of fuzz, which I personally like. I'm a fan of that type of thing. But here they also use clean guitar in the verse, which just helps to accentuate the very powerful vocals of Cormac Neeson. And I really think he deserves more credit as a vocalist than he gets. He really doesn't get much acclaim. It isn't often talked about, but I think in this sort of 70s revival scene, as I sort of call it, I think he has one of the strongest voices in that scene, which, that's something. And yeah, this song, it's a great opener, big catchy chorus chanting the name of the song with a big guitar riff and a raw feel that really just starts the album quite wonderfully, I have to say. Now leave with Nothin, and this has some nice sort of, Hendrixy wah-wah before Paul plays the main sort of Paul plays the main palm muted riff, which has this almost funky vibe to it. The whole song has there's a little bit of funk in there, not huge, it's still bluesy hard rock, but definitely a bit of funk, especially with the bass riff from Mickey Waters, which takes more of a lead role, and it's definitely a bit higher in the mix than you might expect, and yeah, sort of plays sort of almost lead melody on it, which is pretty cool. Again, the heart of this song, like New Horizon, is the chorus, when the distortion is unleashed, and the irresistible chorus that really will get everyone singing comes along. Now, Spectacular, the 3rd song on the album and the lead single, of course, which I've already talked about and expressed for my absolute love for it, but I'll talk about it again. And The Answer really delivers just such a great performance with this party rock bluesy anthem. So their trademark fuzzy blues, and this song, it's a clear choice for a single. Just has that type of structure which I like, where about halfway through, after like the 2nd chorus, you get this sort of exceptionally sort of catchy verse, which it's almost like a 2nd chorus, and or another chorus even. And while this song has that sort of commercial, the commercial sensibilities, the high melody, big, arena rock type style, the production by Toby Jepson and mixing from Mike Fraser definitely give this a live and raucous feel, which is what a band like this really scream out for, as I find so many other albums of this ilk get ruined by sort of over-the-top, very clean, very cut, production and a very studio feel. But definitely Toby Jepson and Mike Fraser have managed to capture some of the live essence of the band, and really when playing live, they are in their element. That's definitely the field in which they excel. Speak Now. This feels very Rival Sons to me, definitely. As soon as I heard this song, it's like, oh, this feels a bit Rival Sonsy, which, always good. I like Rival Sons a lot. And it starts as if it's going to be a power ballad, with sort of a pick guitar melody before it just gets boosted and takes off in the chorus. I mean, it has this very melodic, big chorus, you know, like you might expect in a power ballad, but it's definitely a bit heavy. I mean, it's not really a ballad. I can't say I'd call it that. The thing that really makes this track stand out for me is the sort of pseudo guitar solo, which just brings things suddenly, you know, from the chorus back to some clean guitar, which then starts to build and scream and squawk with the bass, building some tension behind it before Cormac just belts out "Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Tongue." And yet that whole section just has such an air of spontaneity, and which I just love. I really enjoy that fellow in the whole song, to be honest. But you know, this album, it ain't perfect. No, now we get to the sort of the middle slump, which you know, not too long, but you know, it's only a 10-track album, so any slump is not great. And we have Somebody Else. I really don't think this is as good as the others. All the other songs have something to differentiate it, or do something excel in a particular field. This doesn't. I mean, it doesn't have a particular part or groove or chorus that really just gets you. It doesn't have anything that's exciting, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a solid song with some particularly great drumming from the drummer Heatley. But the solo, I mean, it's virtually non-existent, and instead just feels like a sort of half-assed, obligatory instrumental section. Okay, maybe I'm being a little harsh, but really, the instrumental section in the middle feels very unnatural. And the chorus, while reasonable, it's nowhere near the level of the previous songs. And then Concrete, this song, it's not exactly breathtaking either, and continues the middle slump we so often see from bands, unfortunately. You know, it's a shame, but, you know, I thought after this great start they may dodge this particularly painful bullet of a slump, but instead with Concrete they let it just slide right on in. And this song, it's a bass-driven, blues-tinged song. Shocker, it's blues-tinged, you know, never would have guessed that. With a pretty weak hook and some odd lyrics. I gotta have a Concrete. I don't know what that infers or implies, or if it means even anything, but okay, you've gotta have some Concrete. You're clearly a builder. But, so there's some positives to the song, like Cormac's passionately strained vocals towards the end. He almost screams the chorus, just belts it out. Otherwise, pretty lackluster. But Call Yourself a Friend that's a pretty interesting song. It sounds very beautifully with just Paul on guitar and just Cormac's vocals. And the song then starts its ascent as the drums and pounding bass, Mickey come in, and the build, it's very well done, and the hook of the title, Call Yourself a Friend, works very well. Again, with another passionate performance from Cormac, this song's definitely one of the highlights of the album. The only gripe, and it's only a small gripe, it's with Paul's guitar, and I really feel they could have done a bit more of the outro solo, I have to say. The song just, especially with that sort of build, it feels like it really needs that sort of climactic, big, epic, sweeping, soaring guitar solo, but we don't get that. We just have, you know, it's serviceable solo. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, you really feel it could have that pizzazz, that just extra oomph to really lift this song into just, you know, something that's truly mind-blowing. But instead they play it a little bit safe. Baby Kill Me, this very Zeppelin-esque, I have to say, which hardly surprising. Many old bands of this style seem to pinch a bit of Zeppelin here and there, and the particular emphasis on blues on this song, something the band pull off very efficiently, with Paul's lead work being very effective. Yeah, it's definitely a song I enjoyed. I don't have too much to say. Burn You Down, the penultimate song, I think. And this is the type of song the answers do really, really well. It's not amazing, but it has big chorus, super solo, strong rhythm, and just all the members of the band's really going for it. Even if it is fairly simplistic, stripped back to the roots hard rock, it just has that energy and passion that, you know, I feel sometimes you don't quite see enough nowadays, especially with a lot of modern production values, which really cut that out. Louder Than Love, this is the final song, and yeah, They definitely saved one of the best till last with this brilliantly climactic finale. A huge chorus, it just begs to be played in a big live arena setting with the whole crowd singing along and hanging on to every single word. My second favourite from the album, and I can imagine it as a second single. If it already isn't, I don't know what they released as a second single. But yeah, it has all the elements for a classic of this band. Definitely one of my favourite of the band's songs, actually. So, is this album worth buying and checking out? Hell yeah, it is. If you like AC/DC inspired, not cloned, and like Airborne's, but if you like that blues-filled, fist-pumping, fuzzy hard rock, then you're going to love this band. And especially live. Do catch them live. Especially as recently touring with Tracer. Great double-header that. And I reviewed that concert. There'll be a link in the description below if you want to see my full opinions on their live show. And yeah, this album isn't too long, only clocking in about 40 minutes. But I'd say it's probably up there with some of my favourite hard rock releases of this year. I think it'll probably make it onto my top 25, and it's just such a fun record. I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. I really, really like this album. Very strong, and I hope to see the answer continue into the future, and yeah, I hope to see, a bit more musical progression. This is definitely a step up from their last album, The Revival, which many fans seem to believe to be the weakest of their albums. So yeah, I think they're back on form, and, I definitely hope something happens next. So this has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.